Does it have anything to do with the Deadpool case?
Lighter vein, there's film comedy tonight on Central. Jackie Gleason stars in Don't Drink the Water at 11:50.
Central Match Live. Derby County versus Oxford United. The speed and skill of Derby against the individual talents of Oxford make this a game not to be missed. The best football live. Sunday sports action at 2:45 on Central.
This is John Cole, handing it back to the studio. Right, okay. Jeremy Paxman.
In the bathrooms and drawing rooms of the famous.
So what? Oh, no.
This program conceals nothing.
Fantastic!
It's got a great story.
Turn on, tune in, and drop off.
Spitting Image, Sunday fun at 10:05 on Central.
Wake up in the morning, wanting some breakfast.
There's one sunflower spread with 25% less fat and 100% taste. Its name? Yeah, that's light.
Bupa now has a health scheme for almost everybody. From only £9 a month, Bupa has a choice of health schemes to suit almost everybody. Doesn't your body deserve it? Phone free now, 0800 600 500.
You wanted to see me, Mum?
Yes. We found these in your locker. Fruit teas.
Yes, Mum.
What's worse, they're from the London Herb and Spice Company.
Yes, Mum.
Blackcurrant, strawberry, apple, no mention of caffeine.
No, Mum.
Or calories.
No.
You know what this means, don't you?
Mum?
I'm suspending you for good behaviour.
Fruit and herb tea from the London Herb and Spice Company. Pure wickedness.
Underneath every spotless evening lies a DuPont certified Stainmaster Extra carpet.
Dessert.
DuPont Stainmaster Extra carpets, wear tested for lasting good looks.
Invest £10,000, say, in first option bonds, and with basic rate tax paid at 25%, you'd have £10,650 after 1 year. Then decide to take it or leave it for another year. Twist or stick, you could say.
Come on, let's twist again, like we did last summer. Yeah, let's twist again.
National Savings First Option Bonds. Security has never been so interesting.
One of these is a 1959 model Gibson Les Paul Standard in Sunburst. The adjustable Tunematic bridge and patent applied for humbucking pickups make it sound like no other guitar. It'll lick the pants off the other one. Export from Carlsberg, for those who know the difference.
Sunday drama on Central has something for everyone with London's Burning and the Ruth Rendell mysteries.
I feel that you would like to make a new statement. I didn't kill her.
That's your husband's?
Yes. Angus collects them.
London's Burning. Tense drama high above the streets.
Richard, get down.
The Ruth Rendell mysteries at 7:45, followed at 8:45 by London's Burning. Your Sunday dramas on Central.
In 20 minutes on Central, comedy with Hale and Pace. But first, it's the news.
Good evening, the news and sport from ITN. Tonight's headlines: Sarajevo's bombers hit orphanage, 3 children are killed. IRA bomb targets London's top security police station. And America's quilt of remembrance. Families commemorate 26,000 AIDS victims.
And tonight's main sports story, Newcastle United make it 10 league wins out of 10.
3 children were killed and 13 wounded when a mortar bomb landed on an orphanage in the Bosnian capital Sarajevo. The attack came during a day of heavy fighting in and around the city. A Ukrainian peacekeeping soldier was killed and 3 others seriously injured when their United Nations armoured vehicle hit a mine. Howell Jones at ITN reports.
No one is safe in Sarajevo, not even children orphaned by the civil war. Those who've seen death and injury every day on the city's streets are still sickened by today's attack. 13 were injured by a single mortar on the Ljubica Ivizic orphanage, lacerated by shrapnel, flesh burned, lungs damaged by the sudden blast. 3 more dead in a day which saw more than 40 perish in Bosnia. As ITN reported in July, the orphanage gave its children little refuge from the horrors outside. It's frequently been targeted by mortar positions surrounding the city. Today, one of those mortars struck home as its victims played or slept. Across the city, a Ukrainian soldier died when his UN personnel carrier struck a landmine. Even as it burned, the shelling continued. 3 soldiers survived, but ran the gauntlet of sniper fire on the way to hospital. The UN is at the mercy of the militia which have carved up Sarajevo. Efforts to restore electricity and clean water to the city have been frustrated by the militia's commanders. But the bombs and bullets haven't halted the UN's airlift of food and medicine since it resumed a week ago. Desperately needed supplies were flown in on 2 RAF Hercules sorties today, the first time in 5 weeks British planes have made the hazardous journey.
The IRA has exploded a bomb just yards from one of Britain's most secure police stations. A policeman spotted the device in a telephone box next door to London's Paddington Green station, often used to hold suspected terrorists.
These pictures show just how close the IRA came, the station on the left alongside the shattered phone box. This is where the police regularly interrogate IRA suspects. Today, some of the station windows were destroyed as the result of the bomb planted in the telephone box just outside.
There has been one explosion and the possibility of further devices.
Traffic was disrupted as police closed roads after the blast and took statements from eyewitnesses.
Opening up the shop, waiting for the postman to give us the mail, and there's this terrific bang, you know, and it really went deaf for a minute. It really shook us.
It was obvious that it was a bomb after what's been going on this week, but it was just so loud, just like proper thunder. It was terrible, frightening.
Last night, a North London tube station was also a target. 2 cars were ripped apart when a device exploded in the station car park. Just a couple of miles away, a second bomb exploded outside the Royal British Legion Club in Southgate. The stewardess received a phone warning but didn't have time to clear the club. She thinks that may have saved lives, as the customers were still inside when the bomb exploded. The British Legion Club was one of 7 targets to be hit this week. The first 2 on Wednesday were at Piccadilly Circus and Centre Point. London Bridge Station and Melcombe Street were the targets on Thursday. Arnos Grove and Southgate were attacked last night. This morning it was Paddington.
The fear now will be of a repetition of what happened earlier on this year, when you had small, fairly inconsequential bombs like this throughout London, and they were followed by, of course, the big blast in the City of London, which did so much damage and took some lives.
So far, however, none of these attacks has resulted in serious injury. Caroline Kerr, ITN, Paddington.
And the IRA has shot dead an off-duty policeman in a pub in the centre of Belfast. Constable Jim Douglas was drinking in a crowded bar when the gunman walked in and singled him out.
The 2 gunmen entered the crowded city centre bar wearing baseball caps and carrying handguns. They singled out their victim, and as customers dived for cover, they fired several shots from point-blank range. The man died almost instantly, despite attempts by a lifeguard to administer first aid. The security forces have confirmed that the dead man was an off-duty policeman in his 40s who was drinking in the crowded bar. After the gunmen had shot him, they left the premises, leaving a device at the door. There was pandemonium as people inside attempted to escape the threat of a bomb attack. The security forces' bomb disposal team sealed off the area and later dealt with the package. A black taxi cab believed to have been used by the killers was found abandoned in West Belfast. The dead man is the 2nd policeman to be killed in the province this year. Eric McInnes, ITN Belfast.
Police hunting the killer of 7-year-old Nikki Allan wants to see any photographs or videos taken at the spot where she was found in case her murderer returned to the scene. They've also found a house brick they believe was used to beat her to death.
Nikki's mother Sharon on the left here was told of this latest development by detectives this morning. She's said to be still deeply shocked by what's happened. Among relatives and friends on the estate, shock's given way to anger directed at Nikki's killer.
But I hope they get him, because if they don't get him, we're looking for him and he's dead. If I get him, he's dead. I'll kill him. I'll kill him. An innocent bear like that, I'll kill him.
The brick was found by detectives in the derelict warehouse where Nikki was murdered. Detectives hope the brick will provide vital forensic clues, but already it's told them something else, something about the force and the savagery used to crack a little girl's skull. Police still want to hear again from a man who telephoned to say a young girl told him that she'd spoken to Nikki's killer. According to her account, the man had blood on his clothes. Also, they're investigating reports that the man tried to snatch 2 other children on the estate a few days before Nikki was killed. Outside the warehouse and the ever-growing pile of tributes for Nikki. Expressions of sorrow from a devastated community. Jim Buchanan, ITN, Sunderland.
The American bomb disposal expert seized inside Kuwait by Iraqi police has been freed. Chad Hall was handed over to United Nations officials in Baghdad today after Iraq admitted that confusion had led to his arrest.
The border area that separates Kuwait and Iraq is largely unmarked, an ambiguous and confusing frontier for those who must work in this disputed region. The American Chad Hall was involved in mine-clearing operations when he was seized by Iraqi police. His release followed a statement in Baghdad admitting there had been confusion. It was all a mistake. It was a victory for some frantic behind-the-scenes diplomacy at the United Nations in New York. It was a sign, too, that Iraq can be flexible, that it's not looking for a fight. In Baghdad, though, the anti-Western demonstrations are still evident on the streets. And Iraq holds 2 Britons, one of whom was also picked up along the same Kuwaiti border. It's now emerged that Chad Hall has already been handed over to United Nations personnel in Baghdad and is expected to leave Iraq as soon as it can be arranged.
This afternoon he was released to Colonel Oleg Ovechkin, who is the chief liaison officer for UNICOM in Baghdad. And his whereabouts are undisclosed. He is with UNICOM people. We have passed messages to his family, and he is well.
The decision to release the American shows Iraq's desire not to provoke the US government. Another key test will be whether Baghdad decides to confront or cooperate with the UN inspection team arriving next week. Robert Moore, ITN, Baghdad.
Israeli troops have shot dead 1 Palestinian and wounded at least another 50 in serious clashes in Jerusalem and the occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip. It happened during demonstrations supporting a hunger strike by thousands of Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails. Foreign Secretary Douglas Hurd says Europe's top priority must be to remove public fears about who is running the EC. Mr. Hurd was in Brussels for talks prior to next week's emergency EC summit in Birmingham. He also rejected a suggestion from Labour leader John Smith that the economy and unemployment should top the summit agenda. Thousands of families from all over America have gathered in Washington this weekend to remember loved ones who died from AIDS. The protest aims to highlight the plight of 1.5 million Americans who are now HIV positive.
It covers the area of 12 football pitches. This is the quilt of remembrance spread out this afternoon as a memorial to America's AIDS victims. In sight of the White House, they called for a higher priority on the fight against the disease and the search for a cure.
We need change. This country's in dreadful shape, and we need unity, not divisiveness and hatefulness.
The names of the dead are individually called. Every square of the quilt represents one of them.
Over 152,000 Americans have already died from AIDS. The organisers of this event say that their main aim is to show that that's not just a statistic, but an ever-growing list of individual human tragedies.
The thousands who came held hands and stood in silent remembrance. Families commemorated their dead. Even babies born with AIDS were remembered.
My son died on Christmas Day, 1989. And I just hope they find a cure and there won't be any more names on this quilt.
They give family members, friends, lovers a place to come and remember, be together.
1.5 million Americans are known to have HIV, the disease that can lead to AIDS. The organisers fear that this quilt will grow every year until a cure is found. Jonathan Munro, ITN, Washington.
Now, with news of today's sport, here's David Bobin.
Well, it's been a rest day for both the Premier League and the Scottish sides prior to next week's World Cup qualifying matches. But in the First Division, it was business as usual, particularly for Newcastle United. They're still the only team with a 100% record after beating Tranmere Rovers in front of a 30,000 full house at St James Park.
The Barclays Manager of the Month award could only go to one man at the moment, Kevin Keegan's team playing such attractive football that 7,000 fans were locked out of St James's. From the start, United displayed the confidence of a team with a 100% record, Gavin Peacock shooting wide after just 3 minutes. A few minutes later, Peacock came even closer, a blocked shot, and then a chip that dropped tantalisingly onto the crossbar. Tranmere too had their chances, and John Aldridge must be wondering tonight how he failed to make contact with this one. Then the goal that the Newcastle fans had been waiting for, a clever 1-2 between O'Brien and Quinn, a simple cross, and David Kelly heads home for his 8th goal of the season. The second half saw more Newcastle pressure, Peacock again coming close. After the match, the club announced home games for the rest of the season will be all ticket.
Newcastle are now 8 points clear at the top of the First Division. Charlton lost at Bristol City, whilst Wolves drew at Southend. Well, another side looking to restore some of their former glory received a setback today. West Bromwich Albion, the early pace setters in the Second Division, were at home to Port Vale, but things went badly wrong in the 59th minute. Ian Taylor scoring his 5th goal of the season for Port Vale. But despite that defeat, West Brom stay top. The Scottish Premier Division wasn't completely wiped out by preparations for next week's World Cup matches. Partick's George Shaw took advantage to keep among Scotland's leading scorers with a goal in their 2-2 draw at Airdrie. And bottom of the table, Falkirk drew 2-2 with Dundee in the day's only other Scottish Premier Division match. Nick Faldo is to meet the American Jeff Sluman in tomorrow's final of the Toyota World Match Play Championship at Wentworth. Faldo beat Nick Price of Zimbabwe 2-1 to avenge his semi-final defeat last year. Faldo's play was described by Price as almost flawless. But Ian Woosnam failed to make it an all-British final, losing 3-2 to Sluman. He's the first American finalist since Ben Crenshaw in 1981. Northampton beat the Courage League champions Bath today to open up this season's title race. Their new recruit, winger Nick Beale, scored a splendid opportunist try. He outpaced the Bath defenders over 70 yards to punish one of many mistakes from the champions and ensure an 11-8 victory for the Saints. Frankie Dettori's Mount Cunning won the Princess Royal Stakes at Ascot this afternoon. The favourite pipped John Reed on the outsider Anna of Saxony by a neck. And at York, the Coral Sprint Trophy was won by Dens Ben. Graham Good is the commentator.
Well, it's Dens Ben on the stand side. Dens Ben that comes to head the field from Saddleholm, and Sea Devil the far side. The grey is nosing through Dens Ben, and Sea Devil with finishing fast. Will of Steel. Dens Ben takes it. Dens Ben, Will of Steel. A photo third.
So the full SP, Dens Ben 16-1, Will of Steel 14-1, and third Bertie Wooster at 20-1. And that's the sport tonight, Anne.
And that's all from us this evening. Good night.
Good night.
Powerful. Successful. Corrupt. The Kennedys. Tuesday Controversy at 10:40.
Hale and Pace in a few minutes, but now on Central, the weather forecast.
Hello, good evening. It's very much variations on a theme with our weather at the moment. Sometimes bright, sometimes cloudy. The overall theme, though, being a distinctly dry one. And that's because we've high pressure here, holding firm and very much in overall control. Indeed, we have another dry night in the offing tonight. These showers in the southeast ought to dry out eventually, and we could see some light drizzle in the very far north. On the whole, though, it's cloudy skies. There will be 1 or 2 clear slots, and as a result, there could possibly be just some touches of ground frost, with temperatures dipping maybe as low as around about 5 degrees or 41 Fahrenheit. As we go into tomorrow, we do so on a kind of sandwich effect note, and that's because we've a whole pile of clouds spilling down central areas, down into the east, and that's attached to a cold front. Now behind that front we've brighter weather, and that's just nudging into the northeast, and the best of the brightness for the west, Northern Ireland, West and South Wales. But the tables are very much turned during the afternoon. It gets cloudier, the cloud piles up out to the west, at the same time distinctly brighter for the east. On the whole, it'll be a dry day, perhaps some odd spots of rain. Temperature-wise, 11 or 12, that's just making it into the 50s. At least with those northerly winds, air quality is looking good.
Central Weather, sponsored by Legal & General.
Good evening. Well, now the central weather, and you can see that most places will become cloudy with maybe a few clearer spells over in the west. There'll also be some patchy light rain around, mainly up on the hills. Temperatures falling to as low as 6 Celsius in places, but on average 8 Celsius. Tomorrow will start off quite cloudy with brighter weather moving in from the north, not reaching the south until later on in the day. That's it from me. See you again tomorrow lunchtime. Bye-bye.
Teams you want to see. The best local football is free on Central.
Don't Drink the Water is our late film at 11:50. That stars Jackie Gleason. But next, impeccably well behaved as usual, Hale and Pace. And there's a few gardening tips from the two Rons.
You may not want your children to watch this commercial for Chambourcy Real Chocolate Mousse, because it contains scenes of sheer indulgence. Made with real chocolate, whipped into a truly delicious mousse. Far too good for the children. Chambourcy Real Chocolate Mousse. Shh, just don't tell the children.
And that was the last program in the present series. In 25 minutes, we'll be going over to the Open University.
It's always nice to come into somewhere warm if we've been freezing to death.
The breakaway here, it's a try! There'll be some celebrating tonight!
Hello?
Hi, Mum, it's me.
Sam, I've just been thinking about you. How's it going?
It's really good. No, the food's great. No, it's warm, Mum. There's central heating. Rugby? Mum, I don't like rugby.
Heartburn, acid indigestion, trapped wind. Andrew's antacid tablets help relieve 3 kinds of indigestion. They fizz pleasantly on the tongue, and 2 tablets can neutralize the acid in 5 lemons. When it comes to the acid test, Andrew's antacid tablets help relieve 3 kinds of indigestion.
Suck 'em and see.
Mr. Taylor, look!
You wouldn't think they could get this into there, would you? Well, they do. Time after time.
Guinness Draft Bitter. Far and away a better bitter.
Who's a pretty boy, then?
You are.
I've always appreciated the finer things in life.
Red or white, Mr. Hodges?
Rosé. Like my choice of fire and surround from British Gas. Realistic, isn't it? I just acquired it on interest-free credit, which allows me to spread my payments. Gives me a lovely warm feeling inside. Don't you just love being in control?
Central's Wednesday movie premiere stars Bruce Willis.
Got invited to the Christmas party by mistake.
And still trying to cancel Christmas, Alan Rickman.
Who said we were terrorists? I'm trying to get a bad feeling up here.
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay. They're using artillery on us.
You idiot. It's not the police. It's him.
Die Hard, our Wednesday movie premiere at 9 on Central.
By order of the management, comedy now on Central with Hale and Pace.
So how was